When is it okay to date a married man? I'm going to answer that question, but before I do that, I want to first show you a video, and then I want to come back and talk about some of the things I've seen in that video.
I value the institution of marriage. I made a commitment to God. I made a commitment to Him, and he just didn't stand up on. He didn't stand up on his end. So you know, it is what it is, guys. But I thank you. Let me tell you something. Me and this girl are not the same person. When she met my husband, she knew he was married. She actually encouraged him to leave me. She was doing really disrespectful. She came to my Spelman Morehouse homecoming and sat under my tent and saw me sitting right there beside him and knew he was married. And we were all having a good time. There was no animosity that day. We were all having a good time. So as far as I'm concerned, she came around my family uninvited. Or actually, he might have invited her, but she knew what the deal was. Then she had the nerve to post that clip of Sunshine from Harlem Nights the day that I found out everything. Yeah, because I went on one of her pictures and kind of said a few things. And then she posted that video just kind of trying to taunt me. So I'm like, so you're going to taunt me and gloat after I find out that you've been with my husband. So, I'm like, mm-mm. So, like I said, I don't owe anyone an explanation, but I'm keeping it 100. So I ain't judging him. I ain't judging her. But at the same time, she and I ain't the same. And this is not about her. This is all about him and his lies, his deception, and all of that. So before you all get to start going to judge me and start talking about it's karma and all that, it could be, but it is what it is. So, I mean, I got to live with it, I'm going to be accountable for 100% of all my book. So, but I'll say before you all start throwing stones and want to judge somebody, you need to hear the whole story. So, every woman he's ever been with has been deceived and lied to. But I'll give you the story about how he and I met and what the situation was. Stand by. Hey, y'all. I'm going to address this part about the start of my relationship with my husband, and I'm going to be done. And you can say what you want to say, do what you want to do. I mean, it is what it is, and that was almost 30 years ago. But when I was introduced to him, I was told he was not married. I wanted to find out later that he was. So I told him then that I did not deal with married men and that I didn't want to do anything to some other woman that I didn't want done to me. And I meant that, and I still hold to that. So, of course, he gave me the stand that, we've been having problems and all that kind of stuff. And whenever I would talk to him, I would tell him he would try to be hitting on me, but I would knock it right down because I wasn't attracted to him. My husband was overweight, morbidly obese, actually. But he was a nice guy. But when I would talk to him, I would encourage him to stay with his wife and kids. And he thought that was the oddest thing, but that's what I would do. I would encourage him because I didn't like him like that. And I was like, you're married, so this ain't going anywhere anyway. So he kept asking me like, what if I was divorced? Because she and I having problems and all of that. And I was like, well, if that's the case, you need to get your problem handled. I said, I can't even think about ever even dating you or doing any of that because you're still married. So lo and behold, he tells me that he's going to divorce her. He started his process and that, he wanted me to be his girl and all that kind of stuff. Actually gave me some diamond earrings to let me know. He was like, this is to let you know that I'm super duper serious about this thing. So I was like, well, okay then, because during this whole time, we had no intimate relationship or any of that for like 3 months. Because actually, I was calling him Al Bundy, and he didn't even know why I was calling him that. Because he was like, why you always call me Al Bundy? And I was like, because you married with children, and I don't mess with Al Bundy, so whatever, right? So once he started his divorce proceedings, he asked me would I date him. So I did. So there may be some fault there where I started dating him before his actual divorce was final. But I made sure that he had filed divorce because that's what he told me. So we did take a trip to the Essence Music Festival the first year, and a phone call came in, and I'm assuming that it was his wife, but the way he responded to the call let me know that basically something was up, and that he probably had lied to me. So when we get off the phone, I was like, I thought you filed for divorce. Like, why was that conversation going that way? He didn't really have too much to say. But he was like, well, no, I talked about it, but I was going to file. I'm still doing some reach out and filing when I get back and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, I was furious because I was like, you've lied to me. Like, why would you, tell a lie like that? The only reason I came with you on this trip was because you told me you had filed and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking everything kosher with them and that I didn't have anything to do with that. Because he told me in the beginning, like, no, she and I having issues. And if I file for divorce, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. So I was like, well, okay then. So, like I said, I wasn't attracted to him at first. He was a really nice guy, really nice guy. He's a professional guy, was president of a company and all that kind of stuff. But I had my own thing. I was working. I was a single mom doing my own little thing. So I didn't really need him for anything. But the only thing that I'll say about that was, yeah, I did start dating him after he filed for divorce. And I think from the time I met him to the time he divorced was like a 10-month span. So those first 3 months, I didn't say anything to him, like romantically, because I was not attracted to him. And that is for real. If you see the picture of him before, you'll know why, but he was a nice guy. So I'm just saying. But I'll say that, maybe me dating him before the divorce was final was wrong. And I'll take accountability for that, but I can't go back, 30 years now and correct that.
And one of the things I noticed that Gail said in the video is that she values the institute of marriage, and she held up her end, but her husband did not hold up his. Her husband showed her who he was by what he did to the first wife. He did not value, and you can also say she did not value the institute of marriage, because he was married when he first started pursuing Gail. And Gail seen that her husband Harold did not value the institute of marriage because he was pursuing her while he was still in a marriage. So why then would she think that he's going to value their marriage? Because once a man, if you're dating a man or if you meet a man and the man is married and you entertain that conversation, even if you're saying, because she kept saying she wasn't attracted to him, he was heavy set, she did not date married men, she let him know that, but she still entertained him. In his mind, he's thinking, okay, I just need to keep on pursuing her, and eventually her wall will break down. He showed no respect to his wife, and he showed no respect to her, because if he respected her, he would not have wanted her to bring her in a situation like that. If he really seen a future with her, he would have not wanted to get her involved in a situation like that, because he would have ended his marriage first before he even tried to pursue her. But he just wanted to be in a situation, get away from one situation and get involved with another. And if you truly value, at whether you're a man or a woman, and whether you're single or married, if you truly value the institute of marriage, you're not going to do anything to interrupt your marriage, and you're definitely not going to do anything to interrupt someone else's marriage. You're not going to try to hook up a friend with a married person. You're not going to try to date a married person. You're not going to encourage a married person to leave their significant other. You're just going to say, hey, whatever y'all need to do to make your marriage work, go for it. And if the person is pursuing you, you're going to take yourself out of that situation, because you don't want to be a hindrance to them, to the possibility of them maybe working out their marriage. Because as long as you're there, he's distracted with you, and he's not focusing on what can happen as far as reconciliation with their marriage. As long as there's someone else there, he's going to be paying attention to the other person, like he was with Gail. Harold was not focusing on his wife solely because he was trying to get with Gail. But if Gail was never there, you cannot honestly say if the marriage may still have fallen apart, but at the same time they could have worked things out and got back together, but you would never know. And so now he moved on and started a relationship with Gail, but it started off wrong. And like I say, he already showed who he was by not valuing his first marriage. And then she stated that she was not like the other woman. She was not like Sabrina, because she was saying that Sabrina knew she was married, knew that he was married from the beginning, that Sabrina knew who she was, but she still pursued him, and she kept telling him to leave his wife, to leave Gail. Y'all are the same. That, because what you have to understand, it was just different tactics. Because you kept saying to him, you don't go with married men, you're not involved with married men. But as soon as he said, oh, if I get a divorce, would you date me? And she said, yes. no, if I filed for a divorce, will you date me? She said yes. So therefore, y'all just had different tactics. Sabrina was more direct and you was more cunning. You was more, you kept his interest because, like I said, you knew he was married, but you kept him interested in you because you kept coming around. You kept entertaining him with conversations. He gave you some diamond earrings. You accepted a gift from a married man. You was having conversations with a married man, which should have never taken place. So y'all are the same because y'all both got involved with the same man, when he was actually legally married to his wife. There's no difference. How it ended up happening maybe have been different. The route that it took may have been different, but it's the same thing. You can't sugarcoat the fact that he was married when you got involved with him, just like he was married when Sabrina got involved with him. He was a man that knew he was married and should have been faithful to his wife. And if the relationship ran its course for whatever reason, he should have gotten a divorce first. Because even though he said he filed for paperwork to get a divorce, you still took a trip with the married man. That does not negate the fact that he was a married man. And that's what we as women have to understand. Unless the divorce is final, the man is still married. If they don't live together and there's still, there's no divorce paper, he is still married. So as women, you have to hold yourself to a higher standard, because sometimes men don't really, some men really don't care. They just go from, they're like monkeys. I call those type of men monkeys. And if you ever watch monkeys or seen videos of monkeys, when they're in trees and they holding on to a vine, they don't let go one vine until they have another vine securely in their hand. And they just go through the forest doing that, swinging from one vine to the next, to the next, to the next. But they never let go what's in this hand until they got something secure in this hand. That's what he does, and that's what a lot of men do. They be in relationships where they have a girlfriend or they're actually married. They will pursue other people. They want to get out of that marriage, but they don't just, let me get out of this marriage, let me live by myself before I start another relationship. That, to them, in their mind, for whatever reason, that relationship ran its course. Now, before they leave that relationship, they're already looking for another woman. So once they have that other woman secure in this hand, that's when they'll go ahead and let that one go. And they'll just keep doing that and doing that. And that's what Harold sound like to me, because he's going from one relationship, because before he ended the first marriage, he was already involved with someone else. Just like before he ended his second marriage with Gail, he was already involved with another woman. And he's basically going to do the same thing to Sabrina, because that's his pattern. And that's how we have to look at situation. How men come to you, that's basically how he is. There's no woman out there, I don't care how fine she is, I don't care how young she is, I don't care how pretty she is, I don't care about any of that. There's no woman out there that can change a man. The man himself is the one who has to have the desire to change and want to change. It's not about, because a lot of women think about, oh, I'll look better than her, or I'm younger than her, I could cook, I can clean, I can do this, I can do that. All these things they put on themselves as far as who they are as a woman, and that's what makes them, in their eyes, better than the woman he's with. But in his eye, you're just another woman. You might be a different woman, but you're just another woman, because, like I said, he's going from woman to woman to woman to woman. When is he going to take a break to live with himself? When is he going to take a break to sit with himself, to see what's going on with him, to deal with his issues? But if you're jumping from person to person to person, that's your out. You're blaming on the person. Oh, well, she did this, she's not like that. Because like when he was talking about his first wife, he never stated what he was doing in that marriage to make her act a certain way, to make her feel a certain way, to make her difficult. He never stated that. He put everything on her, because in his mind, it's not his fault. And like I said, he probably was having conversations with Sabrina about Gail, while he's, dating Sabrina. Oh, I want to be with you because Gail is this. I want to be with you because Gail is that. He's putting everything on her instead of taking responsibility for his actions and the things he's doing, and he's just jumping from woman to woman to woman. And so as women, we have to look at that and understand that we cannot change, we can't really get mad at the other woman, because the man knows his situation. He knows he's in a relationship. He has the choice to get involved with someone else while he's with his wife or his girlfriend or whoever the woman is. He has the choice to make that decision. Am I going to be faithful to her, or am I going to step out on her? So he know what he's doing, and he has to be honest with himself to say, either I'm going to be faithful in the relationships I have, or I'm not going to be faithful. But there's no woman out there that's going to change the man. The man has to be willing to change for that woman. The man has to be willing to change for himself. And I want to kind of use myself as an example to kind of talk about a situation I was in when I was in my, I think it was my mid-20s with my ex. I'm gonna tell, for the sake of this story, I'm gonna change his name, to protect the innocent as well as the guilty. I'm gonna call him Rick. This is my ex, my child's father. We was in a physical, mental, verbal, abusive relationship. And so when he cheated on me a lot, it was this one particular female that he cheated with. I'm gonna call her Lisa. And like I said, I think I was in my mid to late 20s during this time. And so by the time, like I said, he was always cheating, we was always arguing, we was always fighting. And this one particular chick, I ended up getting in a fight with her, not because I was the type of girl that always wanted to fight the girl. Every time I caught him, I always got an argument with him. I didn't say anything to her. I fought him because I felt that it was up to him to say yes or no to her, or to make sure that he did not cheat on me. It was really up to him, not up to her, because he knew his situation better than she did. So I was never that type of the female that ran after the female. I dealt with him. And so, but she just kept running off at the mouth. And you have to understand, when I was in my mid-20s, I used to drink alcohol, smoke weed, and I had a very slick, nasty mouth. And so she just kept running off at the mouth. Me and her got into a fight. And so I've been around her, so I knew her voice. And so I just got tired of being in that relationship with him. Even though we were still physically living together, emotionally, I was not there. The love I initially had for him, I no longer had that. So this one particular night, I really didn't care if he came home. If he came home, he came home. If he didn't, he didn't. I just didn't care. So this one particular night, I was like smoking, and I was watching TV, and I was kind of like high. I was just in the zone. I was feeling good, and I ended up falling asleep on the couch, knocked out, didn't know anything. So this was during the time when we had house phones. That kind of tell you how long I think it was like in the around like 90s, 98, 97, something like that. And so we had house phones. So the house phone rang. I picked it up. I'm like high, sleepy. I don't know what time it is. I'm kind of looking around because I'm kind of confused as far as where I'm at. I don't know what's going on. So I pick up the phone, and so I hear a voice that sounds familiar, because like I said, I've been around her, so I was familiar with her voice. But when you have sleepy, you have high, you don't really kind of know what's going on. So the first thing I hear is, Dale, Rick is over here and he jumped on me and he won't leave. Come get him. So I'm like, huh? She's like, yeah, come over here, because if you come over here and tell him to leave, he'll leave. And I'm still confused. It's like I'm recognizing her voice, but I'm not picturing who she is, because I'm still like dazed. I'm not fully up. So I'm like, who is this? And she said, Lisa. And as soon as she said her name, it's like I was fully awake. I'm sitting up straight. I'm like, wait a minute, you're calling me, and I could hear him in the background just going off, just yelling and everything like that. So I'm like, you're calling me. And I looked at the clock. I'm like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And you want me to get up, get dressed, and come get Rick because he jumped on you? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, every time he done came to your house and he been beating on that P, you never called me to come get him. So now that he's beating on your A, take that beating just like you took all the rest of them. I hung up. I'm like, well, before I hung up, I told her, don't ever call my house with that BS again. And then I just hung up on her. And it's like, I'm dazed at the fact that this woman, she know me and this man was together when she first met him. She know me and him was staying together, that we had a child together, and she still dated him. When he used to jump on me, she used to think it was funny. She used to laugh about it. And now you have the audacity to call my house 3 o'clock in the morning to come get him because he's now whooping your behind. And it's like the audacity to think that because he was doing it to me, he wouldn't do it to you. And so, like I said, some women think they're special, that the things that the man did to the other woman, that he's not going to do it to them. And that just shows you that the same person, because I used to think when he used to be hitting on me, I used to think, well, what's wrong with me? Why is he doing this to me? And I didn't realize that was who he was. That was his character. Because even after me and him finally completely broke up and he was with someone else, he did the same thing to her. He used to beat on her. He cheated on her all the time. And his pattern didn't change because he did not change. So when you deal with the man, you have to understand, how is he coming at you? How is he presenting himself? Is he in another relationship putting down that person that he's with to have an excuse to be with you? Is he married and then he's trying to get with you? So when is there a good time to date a married man? There's not. If a man is in a marriage, walk away from him. Don't entertain him. Don't take any gifts from him. Leave him alone because he's not worth it, because he will end up eventually doing the same thing to you. You can't sit there and say, well, she's this way, she's that way, that's why he's doing it. No, you got to look at him and say, well, why didn't you end it first? Deal with whatever you got going on with her. End it first. And then if you still want to be in a relationship with me, then we can go ahead and talk about it. But don't try to start a relationship before you completely finish another one, because that also shows the respect that he has for you, because he's dragging you into drama. He's dragging you into something that you don't know how it's going to go. You don't know how the woman is going to handle it. You don't know how the woman is going to deal with it. She could be a little cuckoo, and now you got all this drama you have to deal with because of this man. But if he ends it first, everything is cool, and then he moves on, that's something different. But if he's saying, oh, we're separated, he's still married. If you're saying we filed for divorce, he's still married. So there's no right time or a good time to date a married man. You have to value yourself, and then you have to value, and if you truly value the institute of marriage, because if you don't want someone cheating with your husband, don't cheat with someone else's husband. And so in the Bible, in Deuteronomy 5:18 ESV, and you shall not commit adultery. So that's just plain and simple. If you know a person is married and you get involved with them, you're committing an adultery. To God, that's a sin. Yes, all sins can be forgiven if you confess and admit that you're sinning. But the way she's talking is like she's almost like not wanting to admit, I got involved with a man that I knew was married, because she's putting up all these excuses. Well, when I first met him, I didn't know he was married. I kept telling him to stay with his wife. I kept telling him, I don't date married men. But as soon as he said, if I divorce her, if I file for divorce, would you date me? She said yes. So therefore, you must have had some interest in him, that you stuck around, and that you stayed around, and then that you said, oh, I will date you if you file for divorce. Not if you got a divorce, the divorce is final, you're showing me the paperwork where you're no longer married. She said, if you file. And then once he said I fouled, she went on a trip with him. She accepted diamonds from him. So therefore there was some interest. You can't say you wasn't interested, but you hung around. So there was some type of interest or something you wanted out of the situation because she stuck around to be involved with a man that was legally still married to his wife. And so that is wrong. That is committing adultery, and that is something that you should not do. And then also with Galatians 6:7-9 ESV, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. For the one who sows to his own flesh will from the flesh reap corruption, but the one who sows to the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due seasons we will reap if we do not give up. So like the world always use the word karma. Karma gonna catch up with you. Karma gonna get it. Christianity, we don't use the word karma. Karma. I can't even say the word. We use reap what you sow. So basically, whatever you put out in the world, whatever you do to other people is going to come back on you. So if you're going around doing good things to people, eventually it's going to come back on you. If you're going around doing bad things to people, eventually it's going to come back on you. And this is what God is saying. There's no getting away from that. And like I said, the only thing is being able to say, yes, I am a sinner. Yes, I did this wrong. I was wrong for doing this. I admit I was wrong for doing it. And then you're repenting and you're asking God for your forgiveness, for his forgiveness, and then God is able to forgive you. But if you're running around acting like you didn't do anything wrong, or you're trying to sugarcoat what you did to make it seem like it wasn't as bad as the other person, when you both did the same thing, got involved with a man who was married, you just used different tactics to get him away from his wife or to try to persuade him or pull him away from his wife. It was different tactics, but it was the same outcome and the same thing, dealing with a man that was legally married to his wife. So that's something that we should not do as women. We should always look at the situation and always treat people the way that you want to be treated. If you don't want another woman getting involved with your husband, then don't get involved with another woman's husband, and truly value the sanctity of marriage.